All right, welcome to the party. So today we are going to be looking at fixing a few minor issues with emails and actually finally being able to do the editing of fields in custom fields inside of our custom entities, the custom attributes. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I have a hard time thinking right now. But that's all right. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is all right. So in our with our emails, I got this one, and you'll see it has some nice things going in here, which didn't really know what was going on with that. So pulling up this email. So if you ever look, I'm not even talking into my mic. All right. So yeah, with this, if you look into the email, you have tons of data in here about stuff. So for example, we have the message ID, and this is a unique identifier for the email. The way this is supposed to work is that this host will be basically promising that this identifier is unique, which means even if you use the same identifier from a different host, you're going to have a different total message ID. And this is actually how we can do stuff. So when we reply, we put this in the reply to header, and then that's how your system knows how a thread is working. So if we look in here, we can see, okay, so we have our content type. So for this whole email, this is a multi-type email, which means that this is one email with multiple parts in it. And what it's doing is it gives this big long string, which is incredibly unlikely to show up in any of the messages, as a boundary. So if we look, we can see that this is here. And if we scroll down, we can see another one. And if we had attachments, that's also where we'd be able to see them as well. So for the second one here, we can see that this second part, this is text HTML. It's a UTF-8. And we see that it is encoded using quoted printable. If we go back up here, we can see that this one is the first section. This is the text plain, and this is again UTF-8, and again quoted printable. The quoted printable is common and is how you should be expecting it to be showing up. And this is actually where that these things are coming from. So what this is yeah, that's kind of what's going on. I do a little bit of research to figure that out. This isn't just stuff that I know off the top of my head. And when I did look at that, they recommended that I look at the Unpack method. So on a string, Unpack will decode the bytes in a certain way. And this is actually what we want to be doing here. So when we unpack, this is going to give us, so this will translate this equals 20 into a space. Because the way that unpack works is that you actually could be getting multiple things out of it. So it actually returns an array. So that's just something to be aware of. Yeah, so if I go into my email, here. So I can do that here. So this is where we're spitting that out. So I can go .unpack, and what we're doing is each character will be using M. So it's going to be if we look in here, this is the quoted printable MIME encoding. And we want to be able to grab. So what this would do is this, if I did left it like this, it would get the first logical character. So an equals 20 would spit out a separate part. So this would give me an array for every single character. So if that message would have an array with thousands of elements, I actually want to say grab every single one as one big chunk, and For this, I'll just do dot first because it's only going to be giving me one chunk. Alternatively, I could, if I want to, I believe, do this and join it. But we'll do that, and let's see. So looking at this email, we've got these encodings in here, and if we refresh, dot first. So now we're getting the proper apostrophes. I forget what else was messed up. So that takes care of those things. Now this isn't readable at all, so I'm going to probably have to do something with this to make it better. But for right now, I'm just going to throw this into a pre-tag, say that it's a pre-formatted text, and this at least looks reasonable. All right. And you know what? If I do this and then use email template, this here, it gets all reduced down, but it does actually keep in here the proper. So I'm actually going to do the same thing there. So we commit this. So in here we can go fix email encoding. And if we go to the email, if we go to the email templates previews, the body is I'm actually wondering if that's going to copy it over when we do it. I'll have to check that. So if we close this, add email, use template, another, so that looks better for the preview. If I go use, yes, that's grabbing that pre, so we don't want that. But that's conceptually what we want. If we go into our this is a, what is it, white space? White space pre. All right, that's what we want to be doing. So in our, so we'll get rid of this, that way it doesn't get copied over. And we'll make this into a pre. And if I've done everything right, hopefully this will still be formatted the way I want. Perfect. If I use it, I'm not getting that pretext. Perfect. All right. So in here, I'm going to reserve white space. All right. So that works. So with that fixed, sorry. So with that fixed, what I want to do now is to let us go into the company's macro hard and edit. And in here, I want to have all the custom fields also listed that I can edit. So that's the idea. So, all right, so on here we have created the industry plus. So now I'm going to click on companies. So here I'm also going to create create account on user dot counts dot first. So we'll click on company dot name, click on edit, and actually, you know what? I'm just gonna just go directly to. So sometimes I like to kind of click through the whole way, especially kind of on the main thing where I'm testing out that functionality to make sure that's wired up properly. And once I have that up and running, then sometimes in other tests I will often just say just jump right to where I'm going. So I can still go say visit edit company path company, and I want to fill in industry plus with flooring. Click on update company, and then expect page not to have content industry plus colon flooring. All right, so that is failing here, which is exactly what I expected. So perfect. I like expected failures. Okay, so in the company's form, in here, I don't know, we'll throw an HR in here, and then for company, company dot okay, so we have our entity attribute keys. We also want to have something that's different than this. We want to have something that we can like specify that these are writable, and that's because we're going to eventually have kind of like internal private keys that are using the same equipment setup. So company dot let's say writable. And then what do we call this? Entity attribute keys. We're actually going to need to have the full attribute because we're going to be able to say whether it's a string or whatever. Attributes dot each do attribute. So for each attribute, we're going to do a form dot input of the attribute dot key. All right, so we should get some explosions here, particularly because these attributes are not on. Method name must be a symbol, but string is given. Interesting. Oh. Well, I was thinking about doing some stuff for this anyways. So if we get down to here, this will just be quick and dirty. All right, we're going to come back to this. This is clearly something icky here. So there we go. So writable entity attributes is, okay, so what I was complaining about is I converted the method name up here to a string. And it doesn't want a string there. And that's fine. So once it gets down to the super here, it's expecting that to be a symbol. I appreciate that. Through that error, that could have been a confusing thing to try to find otherwise. Okay, so we have our entity attribute types. We're gonna eventually have a writable write bool entity attribute types, which for right now is just going to return the entity attribute types. And that's entity attribute types. All right. So now it's saying it does not know what to do with an industry field, because so what's happening in my form builder is if I pass in a field type, that's going to tell me what the type is. Otherwise, it's going to look up the type for attribute on the object method. So this is going to check and see if the object is present and if the if I don't have a nil object method. So at that point, it's going to look up the active record attribute for this. So in this case, it's going to say nil because there is no record for that. So that's kind of what's going on here. This I can probably make smarter. So it's actually will pull from the custom attributes. But for right now, what I'll just do is I actually will pass in field type is going to be attribute dot type. So now I'm passing in saying, okay, this is a string. And it's complaining about the string. And that's because, why? That's because the string is a, so type dot to symbol. It's getting it as a, it's coming in as a string from the database, and we want it to be a symbol. Cool. All right. All right, so this is now complaining about the name, and we actually don't have anything that will let us specify the label. So what we're going to have to do is make that as we do this. So we're going to say label is attribute dot name. What it is giving us currently is so this is using the industry. So this is just using the key name itself. Attribute.name. Okay, so in our form builder, this is going to be using options.delete label. So what options.delete does is it return, if the label is set, it's going to return that, or it's going to return nil, and it's also going to delete it from that options, removing it, which means that if we use that options anywhere else, it's going to kind of pass through. So I can actually just see that, so that lead status has changed. All right, so let's run this and see if we get further now. All right. So that's failed because, so if we go to the company controller and go to the update, if we go in here, we do puts params dot inspect and put company params. Run this again. We can see that our params, we're getting the name is company 1 and the industry is flooring. And in our company params, we're getting just the name is company 1. So that's because we actually are not passing in the, we're only passing in the name key. So we need to make an update there as well. So in here, we're going to do the name key plus okay, so the company attributes. So we're going to have to do at company dot entity attribute keys. We're going to do entity attribute writable entity attribute keys. All right, now it's complaining that it doesn't exist, of course. All right, so for right now, we're just going to grab that whole thing. Actually, we're going to do, let's actually do that right. So we're going to do the writable entity attribute types, and we're going to grab the key, which in this case, it's still all defaulting back to the same place. Writable entity attribute keys. What is this complaining for? Nil. Why are you nil? That is why. And oh no, that's not why. That will be a problem though, so we'll see that in a minute. Company params requires that I have that the company exists beforehand. So that's something that maybe keep in mind. So this, when I create this, I haven't assigned this company yet, but I'm also so it's kind of one of those tricky situations where you can't I have to think about how to, you don't know what the, it's a little bit odd. Okay. So, and I might actually want to change that structurally a little bit. Okay. Anyways, so update, this should now, this is having a problem because this is screaming at me because I'm looking at it there. So let's just do this. And now this should not blow up my face. Why did that not have that updated though? Writable attribute types. Oh, writable attribute keys. Is industry. All right. So we're still only getting, because I didn't update down here. I just been wondering if it required to be a symbol, not a. So now we got name and industry permitted. Good. Ooh. Unknown attribute industry for company. So this is giving a, that's because I'm trying to do mass assignment with that. So maybe I have to approach that a little bit differently. Because like a bad way that I could do this would be like I could come in here and I could go company.writable action keys dot each do key and then we could do something like company dot send key is equal to params company key if params company key dot present. I think this should work, but this is looking like a pretty terrible solution. So the industry is flooring. So that's right. Oh, it's because I typoed my spec. So this should have industry. All right. All right. What am I redirecting to? The company's path. Okay. Click on update company. Click on company.name. All right. So this now works. I need to bring this whole chunk. So now actually, so if I go to manage companies and let's run this spec, and this should blow up in my face, I'm expecting. Why are you not blowing up? Oh, that's because I moved it out. I'm going to now do the mass assignment. So I actually need to bring this up here. When I create, this will let me do that. All right. So let's make sure this hasn't broken anything. Okay, great. So, all right, let's take a look at what we have here. So we're doing the manual mass assignment in here, which is a little bit gross. So that's a place where I have to do something. We need to come back and fix up this problem because this, I don't like how this is, but it works. So that's step one. And this gives us a nice seam for in the future, which I know we're going to be doing. So I usually don't do much to prepare for the future because then you often guess wrong. So But this is one that I certainly know we're gonna be having the engine is going to put in here last contacted, first contacted. All those types of properties are also going to be things that happen as well. We've added a very simple bug fix here. We've added an additional feature that way we can customize that label. So that's good. We're showing all the company attributes or letting us write that out. All right. And actually, this is a great place where like this should probably be part of the entity attribute as a partial, because we're going to do the exact same thing on the people form. And in here, yeah, so we added the extra spec to fill out that form. All right. Cool. All right. So today we fixed the issue with the email not showing up properly, and we added editing, and we have a few places where we can do some refactoring to improve things. The nice thing with this is that we have something that works. Once we have it working, then we can kind of reevaluate it, see if it makes sense, if we should pull things apart a little bit. But it gives us that starting place where we can say this works, and that's good enough to get it started. So I know these are things that we're going to need to extract out when we add that to the people. So that's going to be one place where we're going to do some of those improvements. Probably the thing that I'm most, I think is ickiest is the assignment portion of it. So this is where I'm going to want to, I'd really like to do that mass assignment. That's really what I think would be the best thing to do. And yeah, but I am going to jump out because I need to set up the next movie for my sick boy. Wave. Do you want to wave at the world? What's the word? Because it's going to go on the internet. All right. Say bye.
Bye. And it's very